Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Beacon Breakdown. As always, I am Mike, and today I'm joined by,
Franco. You guys might see me as Fampuri.
and he is the captain of our Overwatch Shield team, and
hmm
he's been here for quite a number of years with us. So,
Yeah, since the start of Overwatch.
yeah,
I'm a junior now, so it started right when I came on. So 3 years now. This is the third full year of Overwatch.
definitely looking forward to hearing more about the team and the 3 years of history. But I guess before we get into that, I kind of want to recap last week's games for
Sure.
everyone. We had a lot of action here coming back from spring break, obviously. So some of the teams shaking off the rust. League of Legends
hmm
went 1-1. They had a loss versus Ashland first game back, but able to bounce back with a win over ERAU, and they're doing pretty well in the NECC. I think they're
Nice.
about like third or something right now, so
Nice.
hanging around and looking forward to that. Smash Bros. Played a lot of games, 1-1 in the NECC. They also lost their first game back. I think I'm starting to see a theme here,
Hmm. Yeah.
against Northwood, but then they won their second game against
Nice.
Defiance. So doing well in there. Also, we've kind of split up the Smash Bros. Rosters this semester.
hmm
So our NECC squad is kind of more of the academy team, while we're keeping our main guys for the GLEC, where they won both of their games. So
Nice.
our GLEC Smash Bros. Team has been cleaning up 2-0 over Mount Union and Alma this past week, and they are solidly the number one seed here going
Hmm.
into playoffs. So
That's awesome.
excited for that. Um, Overwatch, your wheelhouse,
Yes.
had a very good win over Anderson. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was I believe just this past, not I guess this week, but
2
all the way
days
before.
ago.
2 days ago. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
we're losing track of our time, but yeah, 2 days ago that was a pretty good game, honestly. The 3-0 win. I mean, there's a good amount of talent. I guess that's still over in Gleck, and it's kind of more of a slew of everybody from across the whole Great Lakes region.
Yeah.
And there's like teams like you have teams that are in like the total upper echelon, that's like GM players,
Mm.
and then you have teams that are made of mostly like silvers and golds. So it's like there's quite a big spread. Um, we didn't really know what to expect going up against them. It was that kind of thing where we just loaded into the games and we kind of felt it out, and then
Yeah.
it just ended up being, we were able to kind of like assert our pressure the whole game. I mean, we did what we do best. We ran a lot of rush.
Hmm.
We took advantage of a good amount of the misplays that Anderson was making. And we ended up just totally dominating that match. I mean, we played our comfort picks, so
Right.
it was
Yeah.
pretty good.
I did notice a lot. I'm like, yep, these are the heroes they always pick. We got Nick on Reinhardt as
Yep.
always.
Yep.
So always good to see. How was it? Coming back from spring break, that was the first game you guys actually played in a little bit.
Yeah, it was a pretty good introduction. I mean, like I said, it let us get back into things, kind
Uh
of
huh.
smooth out some of the bumps. Even though things were, not all of us were keeping up to date with Overwatch happenings over spring break. But we ended up just being able to go into it, and that being our first match kind of like helped boost morale for what's
Yeah.
coming through the season. I know that I think NECC is still going on for a little bit more here, and then GLEC is. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but
Oh yes.
we've got some more big events coming up for GLEC, so it's a
Yeah.
really good. I'm using it as like that morale boost. Like, hey guys, like we're totally able to get really going in with things here.
Yeah.
It's
And
gonna
you
be swinging.
Yes, and you guys do have one more regular season GLEC this Saturday coming
hmm
up here. So hopefully we'll get that one on stream, and we'll
Yeah.
let all the people see you hopefully have another dominant win there.
Yes, sir.
Um, touch a little bit on the Beacon team. They played in
hmm
the NECC and they went 1-1. Actually 3-0 both ways. So good win over SIUC and then a loss against EKU, unfortunately. So overall, I think they're doing pretty well there,
Yeah.
keeping their own. And some of those teams I know have kind of like that one-star player. Like EKU
hmm
had one like Masters player, I
Yeah.
believe, and then it's like everyone else is kind of down there. So it's always interesting to
Right.
go against those guys.
hmm
Taking a look at Rocket League here, they lost to Anderson, but that was just a footnote. I mean, they
Mm.
had an incredible end of the week here, upsetting Tiffin and Trine 3-2 in both those series.
Wow.
And we were thinking they might be looking in from the outside on playoffs, but those two wins are very big, and they should walk up a playoff spot off that.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
if you had a chance to tune in for any of those, they were both very intense, obviously going to
Hmm.
map 5. So very proud of them, able to come back and put that together.
Yeah.
And then in the NECC, our gold team picked up a win over EKU, so they're looking pretty good there.
Nice. That's awesome.
So that kind of wraps up our past week of competition. Looking ahead, we're gonna have a very similar schedule. Tomorrow we'll have some Smash Bros. Wednesday League of Legends, uh, Thursday Overwatch, and then Overwatch again on Saturday.
Yep.
So lots to look forward to this week. But while we got Franco on here, kind of want to dive into your experience and talk a little bit about how you first got into esports. I'm assuming this is something you did before you got to Valpo. So
Mm.
what's kind of like your video gaming origin story here?
Right. Okay. The Famputi lore.
Mhm.
Sure. So, I guess my my relationship with esports started um really with Overwatch itself.
Mhm.
Which is why I was so comfortable kind of like spearheading a lot of the stuff when it came to Valpo. Um, Unfortunately, maybe not unfortunately, but my high school was a smaller school, so I didn't really get much opportunity to like we didn't really have esports, we didn't have gaming things. We had like a couple clubs
Mhm.
that was like a little bit of interest, like the weird nerdy guys like me,
Yeah.
kind of, doing some computer stuff, but not much past that. And so a lot of my interest came from Owl, Overwatch League, and
Yeah.
just watching there. You've got players like this is way back when Owl was like just starting out. I think it was whatever 2017, 2018 around that time.
Yeah. 17, I think. So.
So Overwatch was like still pretty fresh. I mean, it was Game of the Year 2016, and I was like, man, I don't even know anything about Overwatch. And I pick it up in 2017, and you see players like Pine, and you've got players like Jay Jonik, like just absolutely dominating the game, like playing the game to like its absolute maximum. And I was like, man, I could never do that, but that is so awesome. So it was really awesome to be able to watch them and play the game to the best of their ability. And it didn't necessarily inspire me, I guess yet, but it kind of like left a little memory in my head.
Yeah.
Like hey, like Overwatch is that's really something that could happen. So I would play the game on and off for the next couple years, a lot very casually, just with my friends. And then uh, I had, toured Valpo, committed to Valpo, and then I was like, oh yeah, like uh, my sister had mentioned, like, oh, esports is like something that's just starting up because at that point, we were, in our smaller lab, things were just kind of starting out. We
Yep.
only had League of Legends, I believe, at that time, and maybe
Mhm.
iRacing, and I think that was about it. Um, and then I had reached out to the director, our lead Tristan,
Tristan, the man. Yep.
the goat himself, and I was like, hey, like, is there any possibilities that we could get Overwatch in? I mean, it was a game that I was like well versed in. Like I said, I'd been playing it for at that point a good couple years, so I knew a good amount about it. And he was like, yeah, like that's something that's totally possible. And we were kind of um, bouncing messages that whole summer before, and it was something that we ended up being able to get into. And so that was my first time really getting my hands dirty in esports myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great privilege being able to come to like a bigger school and like meet so many more people and come to that environment where it's like we have the resources to like give students that opportunity to be
Mhm.
able to like really show what they can do on a computer. So it was neat.
So yeah, I guess before Overwatch, then you didn't really play anything competitively, right? It was
No,
kind of more of like,
I was a
you know,
casual gamer
I
through and
I
through.
play Overwatch on the weekends,
Yeah.
kind of
Yep.
thing. Okay. Did you
Yeah.
have any other games that you were like kind of a fan of in your high school era, or?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. I mean, I was the typical Minecraft enjoyer, of the
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Um, shout out like modded Minecraft, like Feed the Beast, and you've
Yep.
got
Oh yeah.
all the mods, modded Minecraft. Chef's kiss, that's something else. And
Not
also,
really as competitive
no,
there though.
not as competitive
Yeah.
at all. Actually, super duper casual, but it's
Uh-huh.
it's good fun. Um, and also shout out Terraria. That's
Yes.
another great game. Highly recommend for anybody that hasn't played it. It's gotten like a lot of labor of love awards because Terraria is a pretty old game itself, but the devs just absolutely love that game, and
Uh,
it's such a beautiful like story of how it's like blown up over time. So it's a good one.
I'm also a big fan. My
Yes,
friends
sir.
always get mad at me because I spend all my time fishing, though.
I know.
And,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yes, lots of good parts of that game, and always
Mm.
good to have those kind of more casual games
Yeah.
too to get the break from Overwatch, the mood
Mm.
switch. So,
It's a good. Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's good to have like your competitive like okay I'm gonna grind some Overwatch or whatever, and then you
hmm
have your more like casual game that you can kind of like unwind and whatnot because especially with like pros going like taking it to the moon with Overwatch, it's important to have that like you know maintain that dichotomy of like I can play games for fun. It's like some of the actually some of what we learn here is like more of how can you maintain your relationship with the game without getting
right,
overwhelming. So
yeah,
yeah.
too much into it. You touched on it, a little bit, messaging back and forth with Tristan to
Yeah.
kind of prepare to build this team. But, what was it like that first year and, how did it come together? I've heard a lot of people saying like you personally recruited them to be a
Yes.
part of this. So what was
Yeah.
that like?
So um yeah. So I guess for any of the anybody watching this back, it's right now I'm a DPS player.
hmm
And so when I came to the team originally, it was I think we barely had enough people to like field a team yet. Um, like early on, it was just about getting enough people so that we can all come together and literally just submit something to NECC. Um, and so we, it was like myself, and just a couple other individuals. I think like two or three at that time, and I was like, man, like I want to really be able to like get in competitively and see what we can
hmm
really do. So I reached out a lot of people I had met totally just by like coincidence and like pure luck was interest. So I honestly lose track of it how we had gotten some people together, but I was in Brant Hall
hmm
when I was a freshman, and I'm pretty sure there was some kind of uh, fraternity sorority life event going on like outside Grant Hall. They were giving like free pizza or something. And you know me, I'm like, oh, I hear free pizza. That's good enough for
Yeah.
me. So I go down and I was like socializing a little bit. I was a little timid as a
yeah,
freshman.
yeah.
So I was still
Two
meeting
favorite
people.
words there, free and pizza.
Yeah,
Like you
free
could,
and pizza. And it's
yeah.
like, okay, like I can meet some new individuals. And then Chris, actually, Chiroro, he went to that event at the same time. And so I got talking to him and some of the guys that were recruiting were like, "Oh, like what do you do? Like what do you do for fun? Anything like that?" And of course, we mentioned Overwatch, and I was like, "Ah, like it's a pretty fun game." And so we had our exchanges, and Chris was like, "Oh, like I've played Overwatch before," and so we exchanged details, and I was like, "Hey, by the way, you could come check things out over at the lab." So I got Chris to come, and then we had Dawson already. He's TA Dead Knight. He's graduated since then.
Yep.
He's a great alumni, absolutely awesome guy.
Oh
For any of
yeah.
you who've met him, he's served a good time. He was on the league team before, and then he switched over with Overwatch. We had, let's see, Dirty Wolf. Also, I believe he came through esports already as well, if I
I
remember
think
correctly.
so. Yeah.
I think he also may have been on league. There's
See,
some cool
this
pictures
is
of him in
even
the
before
lab.
my time
Yeah, I
too.
know. It's
So,
yeah.
but yes, I think he was involved somehow before,
hmm
other than just Overwatch. So,
Yeah, and then of course at the time we had our now coach Bryce Jones, Father Pyro. He's awesome.
hmm
So um, I was there. I was playing tank. I was playing support. We were doing like anything we could just to be able to like get us out into the world and kind of just like get our hands dirty.
yeah,
So it was really fun making a name for Valpo Overwatch, and we've come obviously a very far way. So it
yeah. I
was a good
mean,
time.
it's always fun to hear about how that came together and
Yeah.
how we came from this kind of scuffed group of
Yeah,
guys who
very
just
scuffed.
we want to play Overwatch and
Yep.
now we're here. We've got the big lab, and I mean along with it too has come that competitive success. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I think last semester was probably your best semester ever.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to me a little bit about like what do you owe that success to, and
Mm,
how have you grown, from that scuff group of guys to
yes.
now where we're 10-1 on the semester, winning the
Yeah.
championship. So
True. I mean, well, let's see. Last semester, well, Overwatch came out somewhere around what was it? It was like October or something like
yeah,
that.
October certainly.
So what we ended up doing towards the end of Overwatch 1, and then starting Overwatch 2 is we had this like weird bridge where we had to kind of take what we were doing in Overwatch 1 and then adapt it to Overwatch 2 and run with it. And what we, not to, tell you guys too much about the secret sauce, but
Don't leak the strats,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we won't totally leak the strats, but our team has become very good at analyzing a lot of the weaknesses of the other team and being able to make plays based off of that. Um, so we mainly employed like extremely aggressive strategies that encourage the enemy team to make mistakes. So things like rush, things like double bubble. We were running back in Overwatch 1. It was a lot of Zarya Winston
Yeah.
combos, little bit of dive, and then lots of Lucio rush, just getting in the enemy's face and scaring them. And a lot of players, I mean, still Overwatch has, a lot of people have had their time with Overwatch, but a lot of people still are making mistakes like that. So when met with those kind of comps, so we played that in the end of Overwatch 1, and then Zarya was absolutely dominant meta
Oh, I
at the
remember that.
beginning.
Yeah.
And we would just run it down, just the Zarya Lucio comps, just
Hmm.
running at enemy teams. And honestly, the mechanics we have on our team, the talent we have is awesome. Like the sheer, like we have no shortage of people, of players that can aim, of players that can like track. A lot of it is like really just being able to go at full force, and we kind of take advantage of some of the chaos that
Yeah.
ensues. It makes for really fun, interesting matches because we don't always have a plan going into things,
You're just
But
winging it out there.
sometimes we do just be winging it. But it does really come to show where we started from, way back, like all the way at the beginning. We were running a lot of just whatever players were the most comfortable on. And that would just be the most egregious, horrible comps
Yeah.
you'd ever
And
see
and
in
now it's more
Overwatch.
about, how do these puzzle pieces fit
Right.
together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we've got like, okay, we have the virtue of enough players where we can switch around people if they work better on certain maps, or if they work better in uh, certain hero rosters or certain team comps that we need. So that's something that we've been able to use, and that's been absolutely like invaluable to us. Switching myself out for Dirty Wolf, he's got more of the hit scan expertise, or if we need more flex, then we can go with me. So that's like a lot of our advantages is the chaos that we can cause, but there's a little bit of methods behind it that's like a bigger picture that we can see.
Yeah.
Our teamwork does pull through.
And
So,
I mean, another piece too is, having Ben Fusick, who
oh,
I,
Ben,
I
oh,
think has played every role for you guys this
he
semester.
has.
So,
He's been absolutely awesome. I mean, he's just an absolute man on the sticks. Like
mhm,
I think he's like GM on at least all roles or something like this at that point.
something crazy. Yeah.
He's something else, and he's been honestly such a good ground because he's got like a really good technical knowledge of the game. And so we ever have like a real deep question, we're like, how does this really work, or like what's better in this scenario? Ben's like, I know.
Yeah.
And then he can come through, and he's just that like steady basis. Like he's always getting picks and fights. He's always able to like
Yep.
take flanks, exert pressure on the back line that we need. Um, and so his tracer gameplay is something else as well. He's awesome, and he's been a great part of the team. So
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I love about Overwatch is kind of like how adaptive it is.
yeah,
You see all these other games like League is like literally just one map, and then
right,
Overwatch you've got like 20, 30 maps.
right.
And then, most other games, you pick a character, that's your pick. But
Mm,
Overwatch, you can constantly switch in the game. I
yeah.
mean, what is it like playing a game that is that flexible and that
Mm.
adaptive? I mean, is it almost overwhelming?
I think at the beginning it is. It's something that does make Overwatch unique. When it comes to games, like I guess like similar comparisons or analogs, especially when it comes to esports, you have games like League of Legends, you have games like Valorant,
Yep.
where that's like you lock in your character at the beginning of the match and that's it. And you've got the dialogue around those where it's like, no, you can't, you know, in Valorant, you can't play whatever it is, five smokes or whatever. We need util or we
Yeah.
need we need heals, etc. Or in League, it's like, okay, well, you can't have all these people that are just running it down mid.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have someone that can like kind of clear things my league knowledge is a little lacking,
Yeah.
but league has
Yes.
like a very systemic way that
Defined
you got to like
roles and
control the map and
uh-huh.
clear ads and whatnot. So um Overwatch is like, okay, you hop into the game and I'm like, man, I'm absolutely just hitting air on Widowmaker. I'm not landing a single shot at all. Like, damn, my team can just be
That
like,
doesn't happen often though,
no,
obviously.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
sometimes,
on
but
occasion.
my team will be like, okay, like Franco, you're horrible. You're absolutely failing us. I'm just kidding. But they're like, oh, like maybe we can get you closer into the front line if you play like Reaper or something like that, and it's at a moment's notice. You just walk back a couple steps, you switch, and then it completely changes the flow of the game.
Yeah.
And that's something that's like, oh, that's just what makes Overwatch so interesting to me. Is it's like you can completely turn the tide with like one ult or one
Hmm.
character pick, and it's like that's enough to make a difference. And it really like puts a lot of the agency on the players themselves. Like they can really be the ones that are like, all right, like this is what's gonna happen this match. So it's a good like display and case for like the skill of the players that we do have,
Yeah.
um and the value that we can see like the bigger picture as a team of. And if we're like, okay, we really need this kind of character to hold this position or serve this role, then we
Hmm.
can do it. And it's really, to me, is what makes Overwatch more unique and enjoyable over games like League or Valorant. So
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that's like something that I really haven't seen in any other
mm,
games.
hmm
I think that's why it's really cool. I guess in terms of preparation, is it kind of like, you spend time looking at the other
oh yeah.
teams, right? But like, you still have to adapt on the fly. So is it kind of like,
hmm
okay, we're going to start with this, but, if they switch to this, then we have to switch to this?
right.
Or is it just like, hey, this, I'm feeling this pick today?
Yeah, it's that's kind of like a dependable thing. It's like a day by day.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, it's like it's teams we've run games against like a good handful of times. We run scrims against them, and we're like, all right, we know that they're going to be playing this kind of comp. So it's like, okay, if they're going to be running dive or they're going to be doing like a Winston-based comp, then we'll run some like a Reaper or something like that, or something that's like super high up in your face burst damage, where we can fight against them. So usually, uh, we can know the heroes that we want to play going into those teams. But there's also we have the privilege of NECC and GLEC being big enough
Hmm.
where there's times where it's the first encounter we've had with other teams. And so that makes for spicy matches where we don't know what's necessarily going to go on. And a lot of times we just like fall back on like a sort of vibe that
Yeah.
arises. And this is very like intangible to describe.
It's just kind of like feeling your way
It's
through the
yeah,
game,
it's
really.
like maybe that's just like a benefit we get out of having all seasoned Overwatch players.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really like okay, like we can feel a need for like this frontline pressure. So even if it's we're not doing the mental math like this character counters this character and that's what they're really good at, so we'll do this. It's more of like we're just going to exert that pressure ourselves and fill that role. And as soon as we make those switches, things can fall into place. And it's like it rings a bell or it doesn't. And if things go south, then it's like we just rely on our adaptability to kind of like make the most of the situation.
Yeah, no, definitely very cool. And big things coming here for the team in a few weeks. You
Yeah.
are gonna see some teams that you've seen again. You guys have officially locked up a spot at the GLEC
Yes.
LAN competition.
Yeah.
So just talk to me. What are your expectations for that? I mean, even outside of competition, I guess how
hmm
hyped is the team
Oh,
to be
the
able
team
to?
is absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
This is going to be, I mean, Overwatch started when COVID was full swing.
Hmm.
So Overwatch beginning that fall of 2020, everyone's wearing masks all the time. Everyone is at that point, scared out of their boots.
Yep.
Um, just things were totally undecided how college was going to operate, how school was going to be. Like grades could be an issue, especially with like remote learning and whatnot. And not to mention, face to face events weren't really happening.
Right.
So even at times where we would qualify for maybe some kind of regionals or like a national situation or setting, we didn't have those opportunities to go and play teams face to face. So this is actually the first event for Overwatch where we're able to go and see teams like in person and get that LAN experience where we pull up in, a full like little stadium. We've got all of our computers, all their computers, and we're able to really run it. And that's just gonna be like an absolutely like the team is so happy to just be like traveling and like getting out and being able to showcase our skill in something that's not the union to be
Yes.
honest. So
Yeah.
so we're able to go a little bit further and I think it'll be great like bonding time with the whole team
Mm,
regardless of what happens. I mean there's great teams in GLEC. And there's teams that are still working on things like iron stuff out. And things could be a little bit of a toss up, but all of us do feel nice and confident, and we're happy to just have the experience itself going to LAN. We're gonna take that weekend and just totally vibe and jam out. I mean, we've got a nice like
yeah.
4 hour car ride, so
Yep.
we'll have a good time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm
Yeah.
obviously very proud of you guys, for
Oh, thanks.
qualifying for that. Um,
Hmm.
and then, matchup wise, I don't think you officially know yet, but
Yes, we do not know yet.
probably going to be, one of those lower seeds, in the maybe 7 seed range.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any expectations? You think you can go in there and make a little run, or is it just kind of like, we're happy to be here, we're going to give it our best go?
I mean, it is totally true. We will be happy to be there and play in a local setting. Like I said, it's the first time we'll be able to do so, but um, it's also the case that we've been able to pull through some
Yeah.
situations we haven't necessarily been favored in. So to be honest, I think that we have some pretty good looks coming out. It
Okay.
kind of just depends on how the cards fall and how the dust settles. If we end up getting placed against a team that we've fought before, we kind of know what to expect, and I think that we could really take something. Um, there's great displays of skill. I mean, you've got teams like Bethel that have just been like
Yeah.
absolutely dominating their whole season. So if that's what it comes to, we're happy to run it back against them. But I really do think that we'll have a little something to show, maybe make a little bit of a name for ourselves, and then just kind of set the stage for maybe for the following year, see what can happen.
100%. So that's going to be taking place on April 13th.
Correct.
And you can tune in. GLEC is going to have a stream for a lot of these games.
Hmm.
And then we'll keep you guys updated on socials. But
Yep.
definitely very excited for you guys and all of our other teams because I
Hmm.
think Rocket League and Smash Bros
Yep.
are both going to qualify. So
Yeah. It's
we're going to have
awesome.
a large group going. So it'll be
Hmm.
very exciting for the program. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that. And then looking even further ahead, you've been with this program for 3 years. Next
Hmm.
year, coming back for one final year,
Yep.
what are you kind of hoping to accomplish and leave? What legacy are you hoping to
Hmm.
leave for Valpo Esports here?
Yeah. Um, I mean, seeing the program for at least Overwatch go like start to finish, well, hopefully not finish, but
Yes.
from start to where I'll be leaving it, has really just honestly been a privilege. Seeing esports as a whole growing, has just been super awesome. I think my main goal leaving as a senior will be just to like make sure that esports is in like a really good like solid spot that we can kind of take off from. Because I think at this point now esports as a whole, as at the time of this, recording, I guess, is
Yes.
4 years. We're on our fourth full year.
Hmm.
So if we can really just get to that point where esports really has its solid position in the whole student life sort of atmosphere, and we can kind of cultivate that culture that we're really seeking, and make sure that they have their outlet and they feel welcome and they're able to express their uh, engagement and love for
Hmm.
games that we've been able to currently. That's honestly what's most important to me. I know that there's a lot of talks and discussions of other games and things we want to pick up. And really, right now, it's just like we're stabilizing and we're feeling really good. I mean, we just got our new lab this year. That's where
Yep.
we're recording from, and so that's been absolutely awesome having more space. It means that more teams can all be there at once. We can all see each other. There's more of like a culture and sense of community within the whole esports program.
Yeah.
You got a lot of like intersection between teams, like people seeing each other, interacting. So it really will just be like maybe not necessarily my name having to be remembered or
Yeah.
like a poster up on the wall. Sure, it'd be great. We'll
Hey,
put some
we've already
trophies
got
out
a
front,
picture
but
up there,
yeah,
so yeah.
we got some nice pictures. But if we could really just like keep esports in that place where we'll just keep going, like at that point, hopefully we're at this like exponential growth point where it's like, interest just starts booming. We've got a lot of freshmen that come with questions about esports, so that's always a
Yeah.
good time. And just keeping that trend going. Honestly, esports is just like a really fun It cultivates that competitive atmosphere that a lot of people seek, and we can express it in that way that not everybody does have that means to do. So it's just a I really hope that we can just kind of keep it going and keep it rolling for as long as we've got, and then when I leave as a senior, it'll be seeing the freshmen in and making sure that Overwatch at least hopefully can still keep dominating, and
Yeah.
esports still go smoothly. So
Yeah, well, definitely, excited to see what you can
yeah,
do in your final year and, through the rest of this year into that LAN tournament and
hmm
NECC. So
yeah.
I think that's kind of gonna wrap us up here. Any final thoughts or closing words, shout outs, anything like that here?
Um, I mean, honestly, I just want to shout out all of Overwatch and esports as a whole right now, just for kind of like never giving up. You know, Despite COVID, kind of throwing esports for a loop and a lot of the college kind of experience being thrown off, is really like heartwarming to see that esports can kind of like still continue and persevere because we have that benefit of being able to compete remotely. I mean, all you need is your own computer. So that's been super awesome. Just us like making that name for ourselves in NECC, creating that culture. It's like where we've got we're talking to other teams on Twitter and whatnot. We're pinging each other back and forth, and having our own like recognition for like what we can do and the good vibes we can bring forth. It's been
Hmm.
totally awesome. So just being able to appreciate everybody for playing their part in making esports like a good wholesome environment is what I wanna shout out. So yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
joining me today
of
on the
course.
Beacon Breakdown. Anyone out there watching, be sure to tune in tomorrow for some Super Smash Bros. Action. And
Yes.
tune in maybe Thursday, but definitely Saturday to see this guy
Mm-hmm.
in action. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Beacon Breakdown. I'm Mike.
And I'm Fampudi.